As of 2023, we've helped bring in 2,700 dogs and match them with families. Our volunteers help manage the organization. So we have over 100 volunteers. So they could be anywhere from an admin on the adoption team to an event team volunteer, a transporter, a foster. All of our volunteers help us manage the task load that's needed to thoughtfully bring a dog into this Save Our Scruff space to get them adopted.
So I decided to volunteer. I've always wanted to volunteer with a dog rescue in some way or form, but I thought of, fostering or going in and spending time with the dogs. And I just hadn't gone around to committing to something like that. And then I saw with Save Our Scruff that you could become a flight volunteer. So a flight volunteer with Save Our Scruff is really, you're volunteering to transport dogs from a predetermined destination back to Toronto. So basically, I wasn't affiliated with Save Our Scruff before. This is something I just signed up through their website to do. And I had a flight that I was already taking. So I had a trip where I was coming back from LA to Toronto, and this was just something additional that I could do on top of my trip that was planned. So when you're a flight volunteer, the more people that you have on your itinerary, the more dogs that they can send with you. So I'm sure it varies by airline. And I'm sure it also depends on, of course, what the local shelter has available to send to Canada. So we ended up transporting 2 dogs, and they were 2 Chihuahua mixes who were familiar with each other. So they traveled in the same cage, which made it easier as well, knowing that they had someone with them in the cargo hold. And when I was talking to the volunteer from the local shelter in LA, she said that apparently Chihuahua mixes there are really high risk for euthanasia. I think whether they have so many of them, I'm not sure, or whether they're not a popular breed there to be adopted. Kind of nice to hear that backstory, to know that, if they weren't transported to Canada through Save Our Scruff, that would have been their fate in LA.
I would say Save Our Scruff's different than other organizations based on our desire to stay connected to the community, because we want to stay connected forever. So we're a community with our adopters or anyone that supports Save Our Scruff. So if your dog's with you for 15 years, we're with you for 15 years. We want to make sure that dog's supported.
I love Save Our Scruff. I think they've done such a great job in supporting us, and we feel so supported. We've had a lot of different dogs, 7 very different dogs with them, and every time there's been different challenges or different things that we've wanted to or needed to work on, and every time they're quick to respond. They care about us, they care about the dog, and they're very, you can tell their best interest is the dog. And I see that both in so Save Our Scruff, every person that's fostering has a Save Our Scruff counselor, so a person that you can run ideas off of, talk of all the time, just to sort of help you through your fostering journey. And there's also a fostering Facebook group. There's online fosters on Instagram that you can chat with. They also have a vet tech on staff. So we've had a couple instances where we need to talk to a vet very, very soon, and there is one that you can text, you can call. I think they do so much to support the people that are in their community.
They were really supportive and made it really clear that they'd always be there for us if we wanted to contact them. And for example, even though Spenser opened to us and kind of attached himself to us right away, he was really, really nervous about everything else. And I just remember the first week, we were so sleep deprived, and he wouldn't go outside. Like, everything outside was terrifying to him. Like, the birds and the trees were too much, and we were just like, oh, we're so tired and we don't know what to do. And I called Jenna from Save Our Scruff, and she was really supportive and gave us some really good tips, and checked in with us a couple weeks later to see how things were going, and what she said to us worked, and we just got through it with their help, and we felt really supported by them.
If you want to adopt a dog, my best piece of advice is just go on the website and read the bios. So the bios are going to give you the basic understanding of what that dog's looking for in a home, and then you can put an application in to apply. You're then set up with a counselor who takes you through all the steps of the way to eventually doing a meet and greet and ideally adopting that dog. All of our dogs have trial periods, so you have from 1 week to 3 weeks depending on the dog and your experiences and how your life will be together. And you have that counselor with you the whole time to just help you figure out if it's a best fit forward, and then hopefully it leads to adoption.
I was submitting applications for dogs on Save Our Scruff's website, and it just wasn't working out. I would submit an application and the dog would already be adopted, or then the dog wasn't ready to be adopted, and so they just said, hey, we're gonna keep your application with us. If something comes up, we'll let you know, or if you see a dog, just send us an email. You don't have to keep submitting applications. So I said, okay, that sounds great. A few weeks later, I got an email from them, and because on my application I had indicated that I was open to fostering or adopting an adult dog or a puppy, and they sent me a photo of Aspen's litter of puppies, and it was the 7 cutest little puppies I'd ever seen. So we started the process of going through like the adoption process for him, which was very in-depth, but Aspen's my first dog, so I really appreciated the in-depth process. And so it all happened really quickly. I think they sent me that email November 12th, and then November 20th was when I found out I was getting Aspen, and then November 25th I picked him up. And so it was a real quick process, and I was getting so nervous like the day before I picked him up. But then everyone always like comments how there's this photo of the night I picked him up, and I'm just so happy holding him, and it's been great ever since.